Felix the Cat was a popular animated character dating back to the silent film era of the 1920s, and saw several revisions over the years. Although Felix's heyday was behind him by 1992, there was a direct-to-video movie released the year before, and Felix was recognizable enough in general to warrant an NES game by Hudson Soft. It follows the tried-and-true damsel in distress is kidnapped by the evil so-and-so formula. In this case, the professor kidnaps Felix's girlfriend, Kitty, holding her hostage as a means to obtain Felix's bag of magic tricks. Instead of handing over the ransom, Felix decides to take Kitty back by force, so you head through Felix World and attempt the rescue mission. It's a standard side-scrolling platformer. Your means of attack is a punch glove. Boy, this is playing out a lot like Rockin' Cat so far, isn't it? Well, you can't use the glove as a springboard, or fire it in 8 directions, but you do get upgrades via your magic bag of tricks. To get these power-ups, you have to grab Felix icons that are scattered all throughout the levels. For every 10 that you get, a heart will appear and that will bump you up a magic level. You'll go from the punch glove to a scattering circle of stars attack, to a motorcycle that has a deadly horn honk, to a tank that fires projectiles. The horn honking with the motorcycle is fucking annoying, as you'll be hearing it every single time you fire, giving you less incentive to use it. And the tank shots travel in the always unappealing arc pattern, but it's not usually hard to aim at enemies, and it does bounce so you can get rebound shots. On top of having stronger attacks for each upgrade, you'll also get an extra hit point, as in a normal state you're prone to death in one hit. But if you get hit with a magic ability, then you'll just be downgraded in magic level. There are different types of levels, some underwater, some in the air, etc., in which case you'll have different types of abilities, and some of them have less amounts of abilities than others. The good news is, though, when you do reach your maximum magic ability, you can still get more power-ups. If you get 20 icons and grab the heart that appears, you'll get an extra life as well as a refill on your magic time limit. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that you have a magic time limit, which is represented by the hearts at the top of the screen. Once it runs out, you'll be downgraded to magic level. But you can refill it by grabbing M bottles, as well as a complete refill each time you upgrade. There's also a time limit to finish the stage, which elapses during boss battles, and even the distance between the defeated boss and the goal shortly afterward. So you could theoretically kill the boss and then die before you get to the end. You start out with 3 lives, and you get 3 continues. It's a pretty easy game. The enemies are all pretty predictable, and most of them don't differ too much from each other, and the boss battles aren't very difficult either. But there are some design issues that can slow you down, like the fact that you're not always in the center of the screen. So you could jump your way into an enemy on an above platform that you have no way of seeing, even if you're just trying to jump up to see what's there. And if you have no magic, you'll be dead because of this. But thankfully you don't run into that problem that often, so the frustration level doesn't really hit all that hard. And like I said, the game is pretty easy. It's generous with upgrades as well as checkpoints, which are represented by these wooden arrow signs. And the controls are responsive enough and never become any kind of detriment. So the gameplay is more than fair. The game looks great too. Felix is very well rendered to his cartoon counterpart, the backgrounds are nice, and everything looks pretty sharp overall. Soundtrack's pretty good too. None of the tunes are memorable enough to fit into a top 50 game songs of all time or anything like that, but the songs are well produced and all the themes fit their stage well. So the game starts out with a cutscene of the professor, who has Kitty kidnapped in the corner, calling up Felix on the phone, giving him the initial demand for the magic bag, although he doesn't mention that he has Kitty, so I guess we can assume that he already knows. First level in World 1 is extremely easy. All the enemies just walk back and forth, and there aren't any traps or pits or anything. Just walk through, grab all the Felix icons you see, and beat up all the enemies in front of you. Like I said, they all just walk back and forth and don't pose much of a threat at all. One thing to keep an eye on are these exclamation point boxes that will disappear after you walk on them. They all just lead to a small section below with an enemy inside, so you won't even get harmed unless you're standing directly above one. When you get to the spring by the bridge, take it up high and go down this giant magic bag. It takes you into a bonus room with more icons. These will appear regularly throughout the rest of the game. Shortly after that is the goal. The second stage has a high water level, so there are jumping fish from underneath this time as well as water pits, so watch your jumps on these moving logs. When scaling these platforms, jump from the far end so you don't jump head on into the schmuck. When you get to this checkpoint, take the spring upward for some bonus icons, and then when you come out, move quickly past these exclamation boxes. They're double stacked, but still, you don't want to drop down, and there's nothing worth hanging around for on them anyway. Watch the hamsters on these jumps. There's not a lot of room, so work your way between them carefully if you don't have magic, and right after that is the goal. The third and final stage of the world is very similar to its predecessor. Some water pits, jumping fish, and all that shit. Early on, take the spring up here way up for a bonus segment, and right after that is one of these trees that you've seen earlier, but this one spits out deadly balls in an arc pattern. Avoid them and destroy him if you can, otherwise jump right over him. You'll encounter a few more as you slide down these collapsing jagged hills. Avoid the bird that passes by as you make the jump over the pit, and you'll have reached the magic bag that leads to the boss of the first world. This doofus on a horse-faced contraption of some kind. I have no idea. He fires balls at you in a high arc pattern, which allows you to attack him at close range. Just don't make contact and keep leveling him with attacks until he dies. After that, just grab the icon and walk to the goal, and World 1 is complete. The first stage in World 2 is an air stage, and there are only 3 magic levels here. The norm is Felix using an umbrella to float around and using the punch glove to attack. The second is a hot air balloon tossing frisbees, and the last is an airplane firing the infamous deadly balls. The cannons seem to be the most frequent enemy here. They always fire at an upward diagonal angle, so stay low and take them out. Slip down here at this pyramid so you can grab the icons and avoid traveling through the crossfire of the cannons above. Same thing here. You can easily slip past these 2 cannons underneath. If you really want the icons, you can pop back up and take them down before collecting them. This pattern continues as there's one more just like this right before the goal. The bonus area in this stage comes right after you hit the first of these 3 sections. The second stage is back on land, and it seems you're inside one of the pyramids. When hopping platforms across this liquid purple shit, watch for the jumping skulls between platforms. Take them out, or just jump by after they drop. The bats are assholes. They'll swoop down and fly back and forth kinda sporadically, so don't jump unless you know there's nothing above. And keep a peripheral on what's overhead. The bonus area is not exactly hard to find. It's wedged right into the ground here. And you have the option to hop into a second bag shortcut through the stage, which I recommend. There'll be a dog head protrusion that floats up and down and spits out other heads at you. Fire at him if you have a long range attack, or just jump over him, which isn't a bad option either way. There'll be a few springs up onto narrow platforms that have a little guy walking back and forth. Just make sure you land where they're not. There'll be another dog head facing the opposite direction. You can kill him if you want, but there's no need. You can just move on and hit the goal, which is just around the bend. The third and final stage of the world also takes place in a pyramid. Or it's the same pyramid, I guess. Right away, you'll find one of the bulldog heads facing right. Move past him unless you feel like putting him to sleep. And right after is another not-so-subtle trip through a bag to a bonus area and a shortcut. Nice. After that is an area with 4 levels of platforms. Most of the icons are up top, so hop up there and grab them. And there's also one on the second level from the bottom. There are gaps, so you can easily traverse between them without making this too tedious. You'll hit a bulldog head who is practically right up against the spring you'll need to get up. So make sure you see him spit out the head before you take the trip up, because you won't see it coming. Or you can just kill him. Shortly after is the bag that takes you to the boss, a gangster dog with a gun. He takes slow and high hops before firing off a huge bullet. Stay low to the ground, duck if you have to, and hit him when he gets close. That's his only pattern, and it's not hard, so you should have no problem wasting him and moving on to the goal, ending World 2. You'll get a cutscene where the professor calls up Felix and talks some smack, before you venture out into World 3. Start out by taking the top route so you don't have to worry about traversing across this cloud over the bottomless pit. Then right at the checkpoint is a bag that'll give you a shortcut through the stage. Time he jumps carefully across the clouds, there are a few of them, and wipe out the little pricks that guard the platform you need to jump on before you do so. Or jump when they're out of the way. These little green guys just walk right off the edge like the green troopers in Super Mario Bros. Shortly after that is the goal, and it's on to the second stage. Right at the beginning is a flying version of the little green guys. Attack them before you move on, unless you're confident you can plow through. Then there'll be a cannon. Careful with how you approach. Don't jump too high or you might get smashed. Stay low and take it out before taking the cloud up. Careful in this area, especially slipping down cause it's a long pit with a few clouds you'll need to time your jumps well for. After a few more cloud patterns is the shortcut bag, take it. Then after a few more clouds is this cannon that's low and has you right at its crosshairs. So take a big leap over all that shit when there's no cannonball coming and the goal is just ahead. Third and final stage of the world is an air stage. Take a low route so you can sneak up on the cannons that fire up high. But then they throw you a curveball and stick in this horizontal shooting cannon. After that, it's mostly all the regular cannons. Keep yourself low like before as you pass through. When you get to this narrow space, be wary of the cannon that'll fire in the small space you have to get through. Try to slip down right after it fires and a shortcut bag awaits. After getting back, you'll meet a shitload of cannons. Thankfully, they're sometimes facing the opposite way, and the simple strategy of keeping at low ground continues to work. Slip up here, kill the cannon, and you've reached the bag that leads to the boss. There's a robot on a jetpack that fires projectiles straight ahead. He doesn't attack often, but when he does, it has a good chance of striking you if you're at close range, cause you're not as speedy in the air stages. Plus he moves vertically constantly, so if you have to attack at close range, make sure you get the timing of his attacks down before you swoop in to attack him, and then retreat after a hit or two, and repeat the process. Otherwise, just stand back and pump his guts full of lead and dodge the attacks from a distance. When you take him out, head for the goal and World 4 awaits. The first stage of the world is actually easier and, for the most part, more wide open than anything in the third world. Most of the first third is just some pockets of water with jellyfish jumping out and birds and other such shit on land. When you get to this platform, hop back and onto the green bird. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention you can actually stand on these damn things and ride it up to the bonus bag, although there's no shortcut in this one. There's a fork in the road at the second checkpoint. You can either climb up and take the top route, or stay on the ground and head straight. Take the high route as it actually has icons while the bottom has none. Hop across the moving platforms and blast the birds in between. Once you get back into the open area, it's more of the same. Cross the moving platforms here to get to the goal. The second stage is on water, and there are 2 magic levels here. You're on a rowboat and use the punch glove to attack, although I don't know why the hell Felix immediately falls asleep when you stop, or you ride a dolphin which spits deadly balls. Ride across the river, killing or jumping over the jellyfish and other basic enemies you know and love by now. This large fish is a pain in the ass. He'll launch out of the water pretty high, but he won't attack you unless you're close, so wait for him to patrol away and jump up onto a platform to bypass him. Or if you can get low enough after landing in the water, you can get within range with him to lay an attack on him. When you get to the spring, bounce up high to reach a bonus area, but again, there's no shortcut. When you get to these walls of blocks, jump up when Felix is on the upswing while floating to get enough height to get over. Also, don't hang around while the big fish comes swimming by. Might want to get the hell out of there right away. After that, almost the entirety of the rest of the stage is a straight shot of water with the same enemies in different spots. So simply move at a moderate pace, wipe out what lies in front of you, and soon enough you'll reach the goal. The third and final stage of the world is underwater. There are 3 levels of magic here. 1 is simply swimming with the punch glove as your attack. 2, you ride a turtle that spits deadly bubbles. And 3, you're in a submarine that fires torpedoes. There are jellyfish that float up and down in one spot, but then change direction around when you get close to them. So play, keep away, or kill them. They don't fire anything. The same can't be said for the crabs that crawl around on the bottom of the sea, spitting bubbles up at you. Be sure to keep your eye on what's below so you don't get a surprise bubble attack, and line up to kill them whenever you get a chance. At these columns, lure the jellyfish away so you can take them out in an open area and then swoop in to grab the icons so you don't get trapped. Then slip up through this gap in the ceiling to a bonus bag, completing the trifecta of 0 shortcuts in this world. Continue onward, killing the jellyfish and crab along the way, and since neither of them fire anything except vertically, you'll be fine as long as you don't rush through anything. And keep yourself at low ground for the most part. Then you'll hit the boss bag, where you'll face off against Plankton from SpongeBob SquarePants. It's almost the exact same battle as the last world, except instead of only 1 projectile, he fires bubbles that float slowly, and then a blob, whatever the hell that is, which travels horizontally and is faster. The bubbles will come in spurts of 2 before the blob, so keep that in mind if you don't want to get hit with the blob. Otherwise, follow the same exact strategy as the last boss, and you'll eventually turn Plankton into phytoplankton. Swim to the goal and it's on to World 5. But first you get a cutscene where the professor calls up Felix again, expressing his anger and that he's about to lose control. Okay, is he gonna rape your girlfriend now? Fuck. Early on in the first stage, use the springs to get up here to the bonus bag and take the shortcut. On the way back, watch out for the fireballs this dinosaur spits out in an arc pattern, so stay on the ground and kill him. Then take the spring up here onto this moving platform for some icons and magic refills. Then kill this dinosaur from down here against the wall, and the goal is right after. The second stage is an air stage. Similar to the cannons the last time around, you're going to get attacked a lot from a diagonal angle from the ground, thanks to this green hedgehog, or whatever the hell it is, throwing tumbleweed, or whatever the hell that is. The entire level is pretty repetitive. You've got the green hedgehogs on platforms down low, and some more green hedgehogs up top, with bluebirds in between that just kind of hover around and don't get in the way all that much unless you run into them. We've got two methods here. Stay low and kill the hedgehogs from underneath, or you can float upward and basically explore the terrain of the whole level, where there's more danger of getting into the crossfire of tumbleweed, but you'll also get more icons, whichever you prefer. There's nothing really else to the stage, and there's no bonus bag, so rinse, wash, and repeat until you get to the goal. Third and final stage of the world is back on land. You'll hit a fire-breathing dinosaur early on, and right after that you can take this log up to a bonus bag and a shortcut. When you get out, you've got another dinosaur and a few pits of purple liquid shit with some hedgehogs and birds and whatnot. Nothing really to worry about, and then the bag to the boss is right after. You battle your twin brother, who has a very simple pattern. He'll fire a shot and then accelerate. Take a short jump over his attack, give him a shot, and repeat the process. Once he dies, run to the goal and onward to World 6. The first stage of the world is on the water, and the ground is ice, so be wary that you'll be sliding along the surface. On some of these little islands along the way is Flurry from Super Mario Bros. 2 with something really wrong with his eye. He just walks back and forth. There's a fat orange birdfish looking thing that seems to resemble the jumping fish from the last water level, but this guy doesn't lunge out of the water. Instead, he stays below and fires a deadly spitball up diagonally. Jump over him right after he spits, cause there's a short gap of time between each. Use the springs to leap up and grab icons, and in some cases magic refills. Toward the end, one of the springs leads up to a bonus bag, but no shortcut. Not long after that is the goal. The second stage is actually the final stage of the world, only two this time. This one underwater. You've got the jellyfish from the last time, but you also run into these big ass green fish that just swim back and forth, no big threat. And every now and then a jumping fish that pop out from the bottom of the screen when you're low enough. About halfway through, swim up here for a bonus bag. Once again, there's no shortcut. The rest of the way you're traversing through narrow space. Just keep it slow enough so you can wipe out what's in front of you and avoid shit. You're your own worst enemy here if you stampede through. Soon enough, you get to the boss bag where you'll battle the same dipshit you faced off in World 3. The difference here is that his attacks are bubbles and they're a little more frequent but slower. Take him out and swim for the goal. Before World 7 begins, you'll get a cutscene with the professor once again calling Felix and threatening to smash him because he's getting angry, presumably at Felix for not giving in to his demands for the magic bag. But what the hell has Felix been doing all this time? He's gone through all these worlds to rescue his girl, but here he is back at home. And he's sleeping too. Look at the room is pitch black and he has to turn on the light. Unless he's just out of the room and practices saving electricity. I guess we'll never know. World 7 starts off back on land, although it's snowing now, which, like the ice, is slippery, so keep that in mind as you move. Watch out for the giant snowball that bounces towards you. Jump over it on the down bounce, and you can land on it. So don't worry about making contact, as long as it's on the top, and you can actually destroy it too if you have magic. Scale up the moving ice platforms here to get some extra icons, and then you can cross this pit. Be ready for the immediate giant snowball that barrels towards you. There'll be a few more to follow, and a bonus bag in plain sight is right after, along with a shortcut. Only a few pits and a plethora of giant snowballs that come rolling their way toward the home stretch. Don't be careless with your jumps, and the goal is just ahead. The second stage is the last of World 7, and it's also a snowscape. This time indoors, where you'll face off against bats and these interchangeable little guys that just walk back and forth. When you get past this pit, take the platform up and head left for a bonus bag, which has no shortcut, which is weird because they have you hike all the way up here, but some of the ones with shortcuts are right in front of your face. It doesn't seem as rewarding. When you return, head up this way through the blocks that spell out Felix when you include the icons, which you'll want to collect obviously. After taking out a few more jamokes, the boss bag lies ahead. This time it's a rematch with the doofus from the first world, and this time he's equipped with giant snowballs, which he tosses straight up into the air. If you don't have magic, you'll have to dodge the snowballs and attack him up close. Remember, you can walk on top of the snowballs. If you do have magic though, he's a piece of cake. Just fire at him constantly. You can wipe out the snowballs before he even launches them. And the star shield works great for keeping a force field around you and an attack device against him by constantly using them. After wiping him out, head for the goal and World 8 awaits. But first, a cutscene of the professor once again calling up Felix in the middle of the night, praising him on his perseverance at getting to him, and stating that this is their final battle. Huh? But Felix is still at home. He hasn't gone anywhere? Are you trying to tell me that the professor provided Felix with accommodations as he made it to his lair? Just so he could get his rest and they could have a fair fight? No, that notion is debunked right away because not only are you not even at the final world yet, but you're in space, so you still haven't got to the professor, not by a damn sight. So anyway, this is the lone space stage. It's also the only stage of World 8. To make it even more interesting, or less interesting depending on how you look at it, there's no boss either. Want me to make it even less interesting? There's really nothing to talk about. It's a pretty monotonous stretch of space with asteroids large and small that float around and get in your way. Shoot them down or dodge them. There are no magic levels here either, just the gun attached to your ship, which is more than enough for this level. The only other threat is this white slime and a small ship that sails by and then fires back at you when you get in front of him. It's a little tough to control, but that's intentionally done for the space physics. My advice is just fly straight ahead, fire constantly, and keep yourself relatively low on the screen. Don't go up too high because you can bump into a hazard without even seeing it coming. The icons aren't worth it. Just go straight and blow everything up until you get to the goal at the end. So now you're at the 9th and final world, and there's no cutscene. So this is where that last cutscene should have gone, because now you've arrived at what appears to be another planet, based on the fact that you were just in space, and the atmosphere is all fucking red, and the enemies resemble aliens. But then there's the continuity error with the phone call taking place at Felix's home, so this whole plot is really just a clusterfuck. I'm guessing this rolling thing is a big-ass space boulder, but it looks a lot like a staticky tumbleweed. It stays more toward the ground than the snowballs, but you can't land on them, so jump over them. What pisses me off about this stage is the controls when sliding down these hills. You can't jump as you slide, you'll just keep sliding and die. So you have to take your thumb off the D-pad and slow yourself down before making these jumps. It feels clunky and unnatural, but it's the only way. Before you jump over the pit of liquid purple shit, lure the boulder that will inevitably roll at you from the other side by coming back and letting it roll past you as you jump across. After another of these pits alongside the sliding hills, the next one without a static tumbleweed boulder on the other side, you're at the home stretch. Just a couple more boulders before the goal. The second stage has all the same hazards as the last stage, it's just arranged a little differently. As you approach the first checkpoint, you'll have to maneuver across these narrow platforms with pits in between, and there's a boulder on its way. Anticipate it and jump over it as it lands on the platform in front of you so you can get enough height. Even these really small hills will put the brakes on you jumping, so approach carefully and jump. After that, it's all the same familiar enemies. A boulder or two and one more pit along the hill that you should be able to jump across without falling into the trap of trying to slide by now, and the goal is just ahead. Third stage of World 9 is the final stage of the game. You've got bats to deal with again, so always keep your eyes peeled for them to swoop down from above. Then you've got beast heads again too. The first one you can just slip by easily, but right after that you're sandwiched between two of them, plus there's a jumping jellyfish. Slip down quick so you're not on level with the one on the right, and blast the one on the left. Then hop through when the jellyfish is out of the way. The end isn't too far off. It's a really short level, but at the home stretch you have a pit with 2 moving platforms and 2 jumping jellyfish between each platform. The first one doesn't cross paths with either platform, so once you get onto the second one, you just have to worry about the second guy, which may take some finagling if he jumps up when you're in the way, but it's not bad. You just have to keep yourself to the left as much as possible on the platform. Right after that is the final boss bag, the Professor in a spaceship. You'll notice there are 3 bags scattered throughout the large room. If you take a hit and drop a magic level, then go into one of them, as there are some icons in there. But once you come back out, you won't be able to go back into it for a refill. You can only do each one once until you die. So only go in there if you need to level up. And the Professor is pretty relentless, so it's pretty likely that you're going to take a hit. So if you come out at the lowest level, upgrade right away. Plus the higher magic levels obviously do more damage, so try to always keep yourself as strong as possible. The Professor isn't all that fast. He can pick up speed when far away from you, so you really can't stay away from him too much and fire a long distance. Using the bags as a jumping point makes things easier, but you're usually better off going under him as the projectiles travel from the top of his ship in an arc pattern. After about 15 hits, depending on your magic level, you'll take him out, rescue Kitty, get a congratulations text, and briefly see them fly back to Earth. So that concludes Felix the Cat, a simple but effective game. The enemies are often redundant, and the boss battles are generic and uninspired, but if you can get past that, you should have a fun experience with the game. It is generally easy. Yeah, some parts can be frustrating at times, but it's nothing that should stop you completely unless you're having a bad day. That being said, sometimes you don't really want a challenge. You just want to grab a beer and kill some time by Steven Seagaling your way through a game. So if you're ever in the mood for a game like that, that's well done, I recommend Felix the Cat. And that wraps up this edition of Aqualung's Game Reviews. See you next time.